Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tuning the voyages. It is the DUG here, and it is time for my picks for this week. Of course, on the wild card weekend, I will be discussing everything. I'm just getting it shared for everyone, so everyone gets a look at my face for a little bit and have fun with that. I just got to get everyone tagged so they can be entertained and all that, even the ones who don't like football. This will probably be the only time you get to see my mug or get to hear me talk on a video for a while. So, of course, I'm in the library of the facility I am at, just in case you guys wanted to know where I was. So, let's get to it. Yeah, so last week didn't do bad, didn't do great. Uh, Pretty much went 7. Yeah, but I did end the season on a high, and I don't think I hit 100 losses. Nope, I did not. So, had over 170 plus wins, 99 losses, and the one draw. So not bad overall. But we do have some coaches who got fired. Not surprised about Miami's head coach. I think everyone kind of had that happening, and I think everyone was not surprised by Cleveland's either. Again, no surprise there. Ravens were probably the biggest one in the sense of I thought he was untouchable to a degree. Plus, it wasn't his fault they missed the playoffs this year. Between the Derrick Henry fumble, the kick. Sometimes you got to blame the players more than the coaches. Even when injuries happen, I know most people say next man up, but sometimes next man up does not work. Personally, out of the jobs available, I'd say Baltimore might be the best job because you do got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, but you don't know how long that's going to be. I would say and then second would be the Giants would be the best because they got a lot of young talent. So you're going to it's going to be a rebuilding, but you do have the young talent there, so you could probably maybe make the playoffs or Super Bowl 2-3 years down the road because they got to mold everyone because they're all young. I'd say the worst one to get right now is probably the Tennessee Titans job, just because of the fact of, and I only say that because of the fact of you don't know what they have. They need a whole lot of new things. They need a rebuilt defense. The running game is not that bad. They do have a quarterback issue because the quarterback is usually injured. So we keep that in mind. I know Jason Garrett was rumored. He could be getting the Titans job because he is being interviewed for it today. So we shall see. I probably will be posting on Facebook of, who gets hired or fired, and I'll give you my opinion probably if we get any news next week. But let's get to the wild card picks for this week. Of course, we know the Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks have the bye. Them till next week. We'll have to see if they can actually make it as the 1 seed. But let's get to this. We have 2 games tomorrow. Rams and Panthers. Rams are a wild card team. Almost won the division, but kind of felt it near the end. But 12-5, 5-4 on the road. And they are favored to beat the Carolina Panthers by 10.5 points. The game is in Carolina. Carolina, they did lose Tampa. Got him because of Atlanta winning in that 3-way tiebreaker, which that tells you how bad that division is. It came down to a tiebreaker because we had a 3-way tie. Granted, also says something about Atlanta. If they would have just won 1 or 2 games and didn't blow it, they probably would have been in this situation and not Carolina. Here's the thing. The Rams have a lot of great talent. Matthew Stafford's having an MVP-like year. He's probably going to win MVP. So give me the Rams. I just think they got too many weapons offensively. The defense is good. I think Carolina's going to be happy to be here, and there's going to be building towards next year. Question's going to be, though, did they win it because they were the better team, or did they – because to me, I think if they win the division next year, then you could say, okay, yeah, they were the better team for this season. But to me, I think they kind of got benefited, from Tampa Bay having a lot of injuries that hurt them a bit. Mike Evans got hurt a lot and, was injured a bit. And I know everyone's like, well, next man up, or, if you got a quarterback, you're not going to replace a guy like Mike Evans. That'd be like trying to replace Randy Moss and he's injured, or T.O., or Chad Okocinco. You're not going to be able to replace that kind of talent with the next man up. Sorry. But give me the Rams here to move on. That game is on Fox, by the way, at 4:30. Now, of course, the other Saturday night game, which is at 8 o'clock on Amazon Prime, it is the Packers and Bears. Green Bay currently favored by 1.5 points. This was one of the hard picks for me, but not the hardest one. I'll get to that one later. But I'm picking Chicago here. I don't think the weather's going to play a key factor, but I know the Packers have a lot of injuries this year. Chicago's looked better than advertised this year. I think we got to give them props on that. The head coach did his job. He's probably going to be up for Coach of the Year. Would not be surprised if he won because no one predicted the Bears to be here at all. I think a lot of us, I know I was one of them, I had them being the worst team out of the four in their division, and I didn't really think, I thought they're going to be competing for a top draft pick. So that's what I know. But I'm going to take Chicago. I think they'll win this one, but I don't know if they can win the entire NFC, but we shall see. But give me the Bears over the Packers. Sorry, Travis. I just don't trust your Packers enough because of the injuries, how they've played this year. I will say this, though. If they win, it's going to say I think that would be an upset in a way. Green Bay's favor, but I think it would be an upset. And Dave says hello. Hello, Dave. Hope you're having a good day. And all that. Moving on to the next game, we got the Sunday games. The first one is on CBS at 1 o'clock. It is the Bills and Jags. Buffalo fell by 1.5 points. The Jaguars do have the best home record for the playoffs, as they are 7-2. They have the best home record, so that may be a key factor in this situation. But as many of you know, I picked the Bills in my preseason predictions to win the Super Bowl over the Lions. So we got that one right, half right now at the moment. So give me the Bills over the Jags. But I will say this. If the Bills lose, expect a lot of noise to come out about Josh Allen because this should be an easy year for him. He's got, out of all the teams, they got the most playoff experience right now because, they're not a young team, anything like that. But if they lose this, particularly when they don't have to face Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, not facing Joe Burrow, you should be able to make the Super Bowl in this situation. If you don't, I have a feeling something's going to change, and I would not be surprised, unfortunately, as much as I don't like this to happen, do not be surprised if the Bills lose this and then they fire their head coach because something's going to have to change. Personally, I look at this because, I don't like when coaches get fired if they make the playoffs. That happened to Lovie Smith when he was with the Bears, and look how long it took him to finally get back and be relevant again. That's what I would be worried about for the Bills personally. But give me the Bills here. But I do got to tip my hat to the Jaguars because I don't think anyone had them being here. And Lawrence had a great season, 4,000 yards, 29 TDs, 12 interceptions. He had a good year, so I think he's finally got a coach who's actually understanding his abilities, which is good there. Up next, the game that I had to flip a coin for, Niners and Eagles. Yes, you heard me right. This one I flipped a coin because Niners had the best road record at 7-2, but they have injuries. Eagles, who are favored to win this game by 5.5 points, they have had their losses to be, if we're being honest, they don't show up in the second half. They pretty much disappear. And I think if that happens in the playoffs, don't be surprised if the Eagles fire the offensive coordinator. I know a lot of people still want their head coach fired, even though he's won a Super Bowl. I can get that to a degree because, I don't think he has most of the locker room. But that's my opinion on that. You could say I'm wrong, and I respect your opinion for saying I'm wrong. But I think if the Eagles lose this, it's going to say more about them than the Niners, unfortunately, because they're going to have to fix something with the offensive style. But give me the Niners too, because that's what the coin landed on. I think it's really going to come down to personally who has the better running attack that day, either it be McCaffrey or Barkley. Whichever one has the better game should get their team the victory. But give me the Niners on the road to beat the Eagles. Up next, Patriots and Chargers. Well, this is a battle of young up-and-coming teams, which I didn't think I'd have to say that about New England already. New England is favored by 3.5 points. By the way, the New England game will be on Fox. Rewind. The Patriots game will be on NBC/Peacock. Kind of both in the record department. Chargers are 5-3 on the road. Patriots are 6-3 at home. So kind of even there. Yeah, I bet it was, Dave. I bet it was. So this one's kind of one of the two closer games. Chargers do have a few injuries though, so that's why I'm taking New England here in this situation. The Chargers do have probably the worst offensive line in the playoffs. Now, with that being said, what worries me with the Patriots, at some point, Diggs will probably be getting suspended, unfortunately. I shall have to see what happens there, because I believe he's got his court case coming up right around the time of the AFC NFC Championship game. So we'll have to see if that plays a factor. But give me the Patriots to win at home. Plus, the weather's probably going to be cold. It says it's going to be 36 degrees at the moment there. So give me the Patriots there. And then the last one, Texans and Pittsburgh. I know everyone's probably taking Pittsburgh here in a way because they're the home team. It's Aaron Rodgers. They got some kind of voodoo magic. The refs are going to make sure they win. Because this is the one thing I think if this happens, you're going to have a lot of fans saying this was rigged if it's the Steelers and Packers in the Super Bowl. Because then, instead of saying, oh, this is going to be interesting, everyone's going to say, oh, it's rigged because, Aaron Rodgers is going up against his former team in the Packers, the ornament revenge kind of game. But I'm taking Houston here. I think Houston's a better team, better defense. Houston started out bad, but they turned it around once they got healthy. I think personally, though, this comes down to Metcalf for the Steelers. If he plays well after serving those 2-game suspension, the Steelers should win this game. But if he plays bad, and there have been times this year the Steelers' offense has been terrible, the Texans should win this game. So as a recap before we go, I have the Rams, the Bears, the Bills, the 49ers, the Patriots, and the Texans getting a W this week. And let me know what you think of my picks below. Do you agree or disagree? And why, if you disagree with me, or if you agree, why do you agree? Of course, I will see you next weekend for again in the library for when I do the second round of the NFL playoffs. We'll get to see the Seahawks and the Broncos that week as well to see how they do, respectively. But before we go, let's just see if there's any news to be mentioned. By the way, I should point this out. The Dolphins are getting a new GM. It's going to be from the Green Bay Packers. And one of the Commanders' corners got arrested in Ohio. So and it looks like Matt Ryan will be interviewed for the Falcons for new Prez role. So there was that. And, of course, the Packers have fired the offensive coordinator as part of the coaching staff over. I think they should fire the head coach, but that's just me. Anyway, though, like I said, I will probably see you guys tonight when I stream another Crab's Treasure. But until then, everyone, peace out. Be safe this weekend, and I will see you tonight on stream. Memphis Grizzlies, they are trying to trade more. Well, if that happens, I'll probably post it. And if anybody asks my opinion about it, I will let them know if that happens today. But until then, peace out. Much joy. Be safe. Remember, share this with your friends and everything because I am close to 630 subscribers. I'm at 629 at the moment. I would like to hit 630 before the end of the month. That would be awesome. But until then, peace out, much love, and all that good stuff. Bye-bye.